Welcome to Hoovie's Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube, and this is my 2001 BMW Z8, which I believe is the most beautiful modern BMW ever made and about the best driving, and it's why this is the one that I kept of my 2001 BMW Dream Team lineup, where I bought all the cars from 2001 that BMW made because I thought it was their best year. It was the last amazing year of a great lineup where they talked about BMW being the ultimate driving machine, and it was all downhill from there. Beautiful retro styling from Henrik Fisker, 400 horsepower, M-sourced V8. Amazing 6-speed manual. This is the best of the best, but now I've decided to buy the worst of the worst. This is the high water mark, and now I've bought the low water mark. BMW at its absolute worst with one of its ugliest, most impractical, most unreliable cars ever, and it's also an M-car. About the worst thing I've ever built. Why I bought it? I don't know, but let's go see it. Oh God, I can't even look at this thing. It's so absolutely hideous, but it's a 2013 BMW X6M, and it may be the very worst car I have ever bought, and that is certainly saying something, but even when they were new, it was absolutely terrible. This is by far the worst BMW M vehicle ever made, and now here we are 10 years later. This thing only has 71,000 miles on it, and it is probably mechanically totaled, but that's not saying very much because it's darn near worthless. And look at it, it's in absolutely terrible condition. It barely runs, all the lights are on, but it's also just absolutely hideous to begin with. So before we dive into how terrible this car is, let's do a little bit of BMW history. You saw the high water mark with the BMW Z8, and well, this is certainly the low water mark. But in between, of course, there was the first BMW SUV, the X5, which was pretty darn cool on the surface. Admittedly, I thought it was a really neat car. Where Mercedes had their own SUV that was more off-road focused, same with the Porsche Cayenne, had a lot more off-road cred. BMW didn't even try to build something like that. They wanted something that was a little bit lifted, but still drove more or less like a car. And clearly, in retrospect, that is what people wanted, and nowadays crossover SUVs are basically all over the place. But BMW was one of the first to do it, and they called it the SAV, the Sport Activity Vehicle. And when they started offering a performance version of the first X5, they didn't dare call it an X5M yet. I think there were still a few people at BMW Performance Division that said, no way is an SUV ever going to be an M car. We'll call it the IS, we'll call it the M Sport, we'll call it anything but an M. But clearly that lost out, and the X5N came out, well, in the next generation. But things got absolutely worse around 2008 when they decided to come out with another SUV, or SAV, I suppose, and that was this, the X6, which it's the dumbest car BMW has ever built. Now, the X5 made a lot of sense. You got a lifted SUV with a driving experience like a car and all the practicality of an SUV. Same with the X3, a little bit smaller, a little bit cheaper, but still at its core the same practical, good experience. In the X6, they decided to go, well, quite a bit different. And I think they were going after Mercedes with the CLS, where they made a coupe version of a four-door sedan, E-Class, somewhere between the E and the S. And it was very cool, but it was still a car. With this, they went with the SUV platform, made it lower, made it ride harsher, and then they did this roofline, which was really absolutely hideous, but also made zero sense from a practicality standpoint. You can see the swoopy rear line here removed all the headroom for the rear passengers, making it a useless SUV. And then the cargo area, well, next to nothing. Just absolutely stupid. It made it look like a Toyota Prius, and well, it drove even worse than a Toyota Prius. These things are really rough riding. They were terrible when they came out in 2008, but then they made them worse when they came out with this, the X6M. Now, BMW is certainly known for their reliability issues, but people would put up with them because they were amazing cars. But this, you get all of the unreliability that BMW is now famous for in a completely useless, terrible SUV. And so under the hood here, a twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8, something around 550 horsepower when new, but that is long, long gone on this thing. Is the intake even attached? Now, I bought this thing at a dealer wholesale auction, and I hated these things from the moment they came out. So it's sort of gratifying to see one that is completely ruined and hooptified and worthless. This thing was so cheap. It was a small fraction of its original MSRP. So it gave me the opportunity to experience this and see if my hate was completely justified. And so far, it is certainly living up to all the hatred in my head. This thing is absolutely terrible, and I can't wait to give you a tour and show you how absolutely awful this thing is. It's awful. So it's obvious somebody has been in here before and tried to fix things, which is never a good sign, because this is all, well, just hanging here. And look at the monstrosity of this twin-turbo V8 engine. It's definitely leaking from the valve covers as well. Gives a giant smoke show when you drive at any kind of distance, and look at all the crap that has to come off to get to that, which is nothing new there. It appears the turbos are hiding under here in the V of the engine as well, a hot V. 550 horsepower is nothing to slouch at, but obviously completely engineered to fail like all modern BMW engines. Of course, back with the Z8, you still had the problems with the Vanos and some other things with this M-sourced V8, but it kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse to where, well, basically this car is pretty much junk at 71,000 miles. You can see, well, the paint is fading. I don't believe this is original paint. Some of it is, some of it isn't, but obviously this red did not hold up well to the Houston sun. They also decided to plasti dip the wheels, and you can see the typical results of that. After a few months, it starts peeling off, and then the headlights absolutely ruined. Some stickers over the grills to give it a carbon fiber look. Same with this, stickers over the BMW round roll there. Damage down below, of course, the tow hook cover missing. This thing is a total pile of garbage, despite it being a 2013 with 71,000 miles. But this shouldn't be a surprise. 10 years old BMWs, they just start falling apart. This is what happens, and now we're seeing it with cars that feel, well, very new and modern. One thing BMW has done a good job of in recent years is their interiors do hold up really well. You can see, despite this one being abused, the leather still looks nice. It'll clean up. Everything in here, more or less in fine shape, except the roller cabinet for the cup holders here that's completely broken, but that's pretty standard. The clamshell glove box still works. Very nice there. You see it has the sport seats, which I will say are pretty comfortable. They do have some cushion to them, which I was somewhat surprised. The M steering wheel, all the gauges are M as well because it is an X6M. The shifter, I've never been that fond of, but we'll talk about when I'm driving it. But things get really, really stupid here when you get in the back. Now I'm 6'2", and I'm gonna get in this thing, and well, there's my head. Yep. Pop in, I'm up against the roof of this car and the C-pillar. Where the headrest is, I mean, you would have to be basically a child to fit in this car, and the visibility is outright awful. Look at the size of the C-pillar. It is just huge with this useless window. It really makes a Prius seem like it has good visibility, which is probably why they put these really massive truck-like stupid mirrors on it to make up for the terrible visibility. And then when you use the backup camera, it points straight down to where that doesn't help you when you're reversing out long distances because you can't see out of the back of this thing. And then you open the hatch, which is power. That is actually working. You have these tie downs here, which I don't see why you would need them because you can't fit anything of any kind of size to where you'd want to use the tie downs. Of course, the privacy shelf is completely gone. And then we have, well, engine bay parts in here, which is very interesting. Oh, that's broken too. Down here we have a cargo storage area instead of a spare tire area, which is another big problem. You get a flat tire, you're just absolutely screwed in these things because of run flats. Just absolutely stupid. And look how low the rear hatch opens too. I forgot to point that out. Going up again, that's it. That's as high as it goes to load things because of this absolutely terrible design. This thing is just so incredibly stupid. Not only that, it is absolutely hideous. To call this thing a sport activity coupe or whatever, it's just absolutely disgusting looking from every angle. And I've yet to know anybody that thinks that this is an attractive car. I mean, maybe in the comment section, maybe there's one or two crazy people in there. Leave a comment. Do you think that there's any redeeming quality to this vehicle at all? Because I absolutely don't see it. It's like 4 different shades of red too, the way this thing's fading. So fixing it cosmetically is going to be a real thing. It's even fading up here in the plastic. So it is completely ruined, but believe it or not, it drives even worse than it looks. I know that seems hard to believe, but it absolutely does if it even starts. Hopefully the battery is charged enough to go. Oh God, what have I done? All right, will it have the juice to start? It does. It's running, but not very well. Yeah, that's a BMW running right now. Of course, there's the obvious vacuum leak, but then listen to it. Doesn't sound that bad right now, but it's not in full limp mode at the moment. Okay. No, it's not LS swapped. It's not cammed. It's just massive vacuum leaks and other problems. But while we actually have some power, let's go because it doesn't last for very long. Out we go. Oh, even in the heads-up display, you can't escape the check engine light. It says engine malfunction, reduced power, and it's all over as well. 3 different places to tell you your BMW is completely screwed. But let's see, do we still have horsepower? No, oh, it already took it away. So yeah, I have like 10 seconds to be able to rev it and drive it before it goes into full limp mode where it's maybe 10% of the power. But you notice there how badly it was going over that little bump in my driveway. That's not how they are. They do ride really rough. They are stupidly harsh, these cars. But this one's even worse because the air ride is completely non-functional in the rear. So it just bounces like crazy over bumps. This thing's ruined. It's just absolutely trashed. Now what's it saying? What is that? Okay, I'll buckle my seatbelt. I can make that one go away. Yeah, it'll eventually give a warning for the suspension. It'll eventually give a warning for the 4-wheel drive. It's just ruined. So once upon a time, this thing had 550 horsepower. And every time I get in one of these, I'm confused because I'm primarily a Mercedes man. I go to put it in gear here and it turns on the windshield wipers. They put the windshield wipers where like the car shifter was on the 7 Series and on Mercedes. No, it's down here. And well, here's me flooring the 550 horsepower V8 right now. We are going 20. Still 20. Still 20. I have to shift to get it to go faster. Shift. There we go. 25. 30. 35. About time to shift now to get more speed. We'll hit 40 eventually, but a 60 horsepower Mercedes 240D is quicker than a 550 horsepower X6M right now. That's how screwed this thing is. And then there's the suspension, which you see me bouncing around. It's ruined as well. Yep, there's the suspension warning. This is on a car that's a 2013. It's barely 10 years old and 70,000 miles. I don't care how neglected this car is. Yep, there's the level control and the heads-up display as well. I don't care how neglected a car is. 10 years, 70,000 miles, and all these lights are on. Riddle me that. Now, I was able to drive this thing from Eurasian Bob's back to my house on the highway. It eventually does get up to highway speeds, but it is downright dangerously slow in the suspension. You hit any kind of significant bump, and you are flying into this low roof. It's a complete hunk of junk, this thing, but I don't... Oh, God. Oh, God. It made sense to buy. And, oh! It made sense for me to buy this thing as a completely depreciated hunk of garbage, but somebody paid $100,000 for this car new and rode that depreciation, gave up all the practicality of an SUV, gave up all the fun of a sports car, and they bought something absolutely hideous and let it depreciate to next to nothing. So I don't know who's dumber, the person who bought it new or me for just wanting to experience this total awfulness. But something inside me wants to see if this thing can be fixed. Can it be brought back from, obviously, this thing is in the brink of death. And, well, there's only one person that could possibly pull this off at a reasonable number, and that is Johnny the Car Ninja, my BMW mechanic. The wizard, if I brought this to him, he would shoot me. So in the next video, we're gonna go to him and we're going to see if this thing is worth fixing, everything wrong with it, which is a lot. And, well, this is definitely the worst BMW M-car ever made, so I'm not going to give it that much of a chance. Oh, the owner's manual's here. Anyway, thank you for watching. Well, I've driven it far enough that the smoke show is starting now. This is just absolutely insane. Look at this. Oh God, it is making the most annoying sound in the world too. What? Well, this is just disconnected. I'm screwed. Oh my God. That's oil. It's been here 30 seconds.